Is the phone the problem, or is it when and how we use it? Consider this. The same device, used for the same amount of time, can lead to a totally different brain the next day. That simple shift in timing is the lever most people miss. And it doesn't just change how you feel tomorrow. Over time, it can influence sleep, attention, and even the way young brains build their fundamental wiring. Not all screen time is created equal. The clock on the wall and the nature of the content are the real control panel. An hour spent watching a calm documentary with family at 6 in the evening can be a source of connection and learning. That same device, used for an hour of rapid-fire videos in bed at 11 at night, can quietly sabotage the architecture of your sleep. Why does this distinction matter so much? Day to day, the cost is immediate and obvious. Late-night screens reliably cut into sleep. Even losing just 30 minutes a night adds up to hours of sleep debt by the end of the school week. That lost rest makes mornings foggier, learning harder, and emotional regulation more fragile. Teachers see more distractibility in class. Parents see cranky mornings and battles over getting out the door. It's not a character flaw. It's a predictable biological consequence. And over the long term, these patterns matter too.
Persistent habits in youth, especially high-frequency, late-night use, are linked to more attention-related symptoms down the road. Some studies even show small but measurable differences on brain scans in large groups of kids. This is not damage. Think of it more like the brain adapting to its environment. Certain wiring pathways, especially those for language and focus, may be developing less efficiently when they are consistently competing with high-arousal digital input instead of sleep, conversation, or creative play.
3 simple engines drive this effect. The first, and most powerful, is displacement. Every minute spent on a device after a certain hour is a minute stolen directly from sleep. Most kids and teens have a fixed wake-up time for school. This creates a kind of vice. The screen pushes bedtime later and later, but the alarm clock in the morning doesn't budge. Sleep is the only thing that can give, getting squeezed from one side. It's a simple, unforgiving math problem. The second engine is arousal. The content itself matters immensely. Fast, emotionally intense content revs up the brain's alert system. Think of the cliffhangers in a video stream, the rapid jump cuts, the social drama in a group chat, or the competitive stress of a game. This kind of input keeps the nervous system on high alert, in a state of threat vigilance. It's the opposite of the calm, disengaged state needed to drift off to sleep. Trying to sleep immediately after this is like slamming on the brakes of a car that's still accelerating. And light is the quiet third engine. Our brains have a master clock, a tiny region that coordinates our daily rhythms. Its main cue is light. Bright, blue spectrum light, the kind that screens emit very effectively, screams daytime to this master clock. This signal directly suppresses the release of melatonin, the hormone that helps you feel sleepy and stay asleep. The closer the screen and the brighter it is, the stronger this signal. It's a biological trigger that actively delays your natural bedtime. So how does this show up in the real world? In a large study that followed about 2,500 high schoolers for 2 years, researchers found that more frequent digital media use predicted a higher likelihood of developing ADHD-like symptoms later on. This means things like struggling to stay focused on homework or being easily distracted. Crucially, this link held true even after they accounted for any symptoms the teens already had at the start. It wasn't just the total hours that mattered, but the intensity, constantly checking, scrolling, and switching between many different platforms. The pace of the content itself also has a direct, immediate effect. In one clever experiment, 4-year-olds watched just 9 minutes of a very fast-paced, fantastical cartoon. Immediately afterward, they performed worse on tasks measuring their executive functions, things like self-control and patience. They were compared to kids who had spent those 9 minutes either watching a slower-paced educational show or simply drawing. That effect was short-lived, but it reveals something important. Hyper-stimulating content can temporarily hijack the brain's air traffic control system, making it much harder to apply steady focus. When you put these engines together at the worst possible time, bedtime, the risk multiplies. Looking across many different studies, researchers found that using a portable screen in bed was linked to roughly double the odds of not getting enough sleep for kids and teens. That is not a small effect. It is one of the most consistent findings in this entire field of research. It's the combination of displacement, arousal, and light all happening in the one place that should be reserved for rest. And what about those brain scans in little kids? In one study of preschoolers, higher scores for home screen exposure were linked, on average, to lower integrity in some of the brain's white matter pathways. Think of white matter as the brain's insulated cabling connecting different regions. Lower integrity might suggest that this cabling is developing less efficiently. Again, this is not evidence of damage. It's a subtle, group-level signal that the brain's development is influenced by the environment it's in. And that environment can be shaped. This brings us to the hopeful and constructive part. It's not about banning screens, but about changing how they are used. The same studies often show that when an adult co-views content with a child, watching with them, talking about what's happening and asking questions, it can actually support the very same skills. It turns passive consumption into an active, relational, language-building experience. It's not a question of screens, yes or no, but rather how, with whom, and when. A useful mental model here is to think about digital nutrition. Just like with food, not all content is created equal. Some of it is like junk food, highly processed, intensely stimulating, and offering little real nourishment. It's empty calories for the mind. Other content is more like a healthy meal, thoughtful, slower paced, and genuinely educational or connecting. The goal isn't to eliminate digital junk food entirely, but to ensure it's a small part of a balanced diet and to avoid it right before bed when the mind needs to wind down. Let's make this concrete with 2 evenings. Both teens use screens for about 3 hours after school. Teen A co-views a documentary with a parent, then video chats with friends about a school project. Everything is wrapped up by 8 at night. Lights are warm, bedtime is steady and calm. Teen B spends those same 3 hours alone, playing competitive games and letting an algorithm of intense videos autoplay until midnight. The bright screen is inches from their face. Their heart rate is up. There is no true wind-down period. They have the same total screen time, but completely different timing and arousal levels. The next morning, one is rested and steady. The other is short on sleep and far more distractible. The good news is there is also a positive pattern we can aim for. In a very large group of 9 to 11-year-olds, kids who met a reasonable recreational screen limit, under about 2 hours a day, plus got solid sleep and daily physical activity, scored higher on tests of overall cognition. It wasn't about eliminating screens, it was about keeping them in balance with other healthy habits. The combination matters more than any single rule. Screens are not the enemy. Imbalanced routines are. The goal is to build a life where screens serve our goals, instead of displacing the core biological needs of sleep and the human needs of connection and play. So, what are the practical levers? First, treat screens like caffeine for the brain. A lighter dose, consumed earlier in the day, can be a useful tool. A heavy, concentrated dose late at night is almost guaranteed to keep you awake. This simple analogy can guide a lot of daily choices without needing complex rules. Second, create a digital dusk. In the last hour before bed, actively wind down your digital environment. Dim the lights in your home. Use night mode settings on any essential devices, and consciously shift to calmer content. Think slow stories, cozy shows, audiobooks, or quiet music. Better yet, set up a central charging station for all devices, outside the bedroom. The physical boundary makes the decision for you. Third, anchor your body clock with a powerful counter signal. Get bright, natural light in your eyes within the first hour of waking up, if you can. Even 10 minutes of morning outdoor light tells your brain's master clock that the day has officially begun. This makes it more resilient to the confusing signals from artificial light at night. A strong morning anchor helps ensure a timely release of melatonin that evening. Now, a quick but important caveat. Most of these studies show associations, not definitive proof of causation. It's likely a two-way street. Attention and sleep issues can also drive more screen use. Brain scan findings are also small, group-level averages. They do not mean individual harm. The key is to see these as patterns and tendencies, not destinies. So here is the single idea to hold on to. It's not the screen that's the villain. It's the schedule. You can use the tool without letting it steal your night. The power isn't in throwing the device away. It's in thoughtfully deciding when its day is done. If this idea helped you see the problem in a new way, subscribe to Knowledge Worth Sharing for more frameworks that help you think and live a little clearer. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.